Our next investigation led us to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or for short, the LDS, or the Mormons.
Yep.
And this is a Book of Mormon that was gifted to me by a Mormon missionary. And I will say, overall, I did enjoy the service at the Mormon church. Well, they refer to their churches as wards, not necessarily churches. And I found that very interesting because as we were walking to the hallway leading to the congregation or the sanctuary, it looked like a ward, like a mental ward, like a hospital.
Ward or a hospital, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you go down the hallway and there's like a door. You know what I mean? Like a room, kind of.
Exactly.
Speaking
It
back,
looked like a hospital.
Speaking on the wards, like he was talking about, you failed to mention these wards are specific to certain areas. The place was huge.
It was a huge building, but we were kind of sectioned off into a smaller portion
you kind of get
of
guided.
the overall building, which I was fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a problem.
You don't want to be wandering around. Where do I go? Where do I go?
Yeah, exactly.
They directed you pretty clearly. The service itself, right?
Uh-huh.
I did enjoy the service that I experienced. There's something he wants to share that I don't know about that is very interesting, because what he has shared with me, he has not told me exactly what happened, but he told me he's never going back to this specific ward because of what he saw in the bathroom at this Mormon ward. And for me, so we had different perspective. He left about 30 minutes into the service.
I stayed for half of it.
Halfway through the service, he went to the bathroom. He saw something. He sent me a text, said he's not coming back.
Yeah.
He left halfway through the service. I stayed all the way through. And I got to say, I noticed one thing that was a little different. I will say weird, but different. That there seemed like there was more kids than adults.
Yeah.
For every single man, I'm saying there were single men and single women. For single men, you had 1 to 2 kids with that single man. For single women, you had 2 to 3 kids with that single woman. And of course, for actual couples, you had 3 or 4 plus kids with that family. So it really did seem like there were more kids. And when I say kids, I mean 16 and under, little kids.
Like
yes.
12 and under, I'd say.
Well, most of them, 80%, 12 and under, and there was a good handful, probably 16 and under, something along those lines. I'm not an ageologist or whatever you call that, but you know what I'm saying.
Like you saying with the kids, it was real odd because we sat down and we weren't up in the very front, but we were in the middle. And the first 5 minutes he said, "Dude, nothing weird. There's a lot of children here.
A lot. It would blow your mind.
Yeah.
I've been to hundreds of services, thousands of hours in a Baptist and Orthodox setting. I have not seen this proportion, this ratio of kids to adults. Saying.
I've never been to as many churches as he has and services, but I've been to a few, and I've never seen that many.
It freaked me out.
I don't know if let's say a dad brung his 2 kids, maybe the mother isn't Mormon, so she didn't come. It seemed like everybody was like that.
It really was. So is this specific to this one individual specific ward we went to, or is this, the whole religion of Mormonism or the Church of the LDS? I don't know for sure. I will say, overall, I enjoyed the service. I really did. I enjoyed that to begin with, they had singing. And something that was different from the services I've been a part of is the singing, they let you sit down. Meaning the whole congregation sat down during the singing, except for one song which was taken during the sacrament or the Holy Communion of the Eucharist, or how do I put that in more English terms? The taking of the bread and wine. Yep. Or the Mormons was bread and water, which is different. Bread and water. I mean, I've seen some Protestants use bread and grape juice or crackers and grape juice, but I've never seen bread and water as the communion, aka the Eucharist of Christ. That was different. That's a very big question of mine, but I will say overall it was a fine experience. We saw first a little kid 8 years old probably.
I'd say
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10.
Yeah.
She had come up and she had spoken from some verses or from something and she had spoken from like the Bible and perhaps the Book of Mormon, because I noticed they mentioned some chapters and verses that I'm not familiar with. I'm not trying to be a holier than thou, but I know a lot of Bibles. I know a lot of Bible books, and the books they were mentioning, I have no idea what they were talking about, which makes me think it was from the Book of Mormon that I was gifted, by the way, by a Mormon at this church or ward. And the children were there's a lot of children, but they were very interested and very invested into this religious service, or they called it a meeting more than anything.
Yeah.
And I do like that they had children doing public speaking. I was raised in a Baptist setting. I was a very shy individual, to the point to where I pretty much wouldn't even talk to you, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. But when I became active in the Baptist church, they made me become a public speaker, and that really grew me as a person. So I think public speaking, especially at such a young age, as like 8 or 10, is a wonderful idea. Now, after this point, we start stepping away from the beauty of Mormonism into some questionable things. Not saying it's negative, maybe I just don't understand completely. I've only been to one Mormon service or meeting, so has he.
Yep.
I don't understand everything, but I gotta say, overall, I did enjoy it. But I noticed they had several speakers. A man sitting beside of me told me they usually have 3 or 4 speakers per service. I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. Usually a youth speaker, like the little kid we saw. But then the following 2 speakers were, to put it honestly, very beautiful young women. I'd say between 20 and 25. Very beautiful young women. And I don't mean that in a perverted way or in a negative way at all. Very beautiful young women. And that's important because of what happened to me after the service. And I'm wondering some things about that. But after the speakers had come up, they administer the Eucharist, or the Holy Communion if you're Protestant, which is the bread and wine, which is supposed to represent the body and blood of Jesus Christ that he sacrificed for Christians. And, it was bread and water.
It was water.
I didn't partake in it.
It was, looking at it though.
Let's hear it, yeah.
It was, think about it. There was a lot of children there. I don't see them offering wine. And you know what I mean? Just simply because the majority of people there were mom and dads with like 2 or 3 kids apiece. And then they got to drive and all that.
The problem with me with that, though, can you hear it?
What? No.
The problem with me with that is that, well, first off, the Bible says bread and wine, not bread and water, not crackers and wine, not crackers and grape juice, bread and wine. Secondly, I'm an Orthodox Christian. We have little kids that's like 2 years old that take communion or the Eucharist, which consists of wine. And we're talking like less than 2% alcohol wine here. Like, you're not going to get drunk.
Well, no.
You're not going to get alcohol poison, even if you're like a 2-year-old little baby. You're not going to catch it. But for me, I should have asked this, because what I'll mention later on, why is it bread and water, not bread and wine? And it was actually bread, not crackers like Baptists do. It was actually bread that they used for the Eucharist or communion.
It was, speaking on the bread, it was actually really, really crunchy bread, if I remember correctly. And something else.
I have no idea.
People did not talk, like hardly at all, when they were bringing these trays around with bread on them. It's like everybody got quiet, right? And I guess they had baked the bread. It was like little, like kind of like little bread nuggets, like this. And they passed them around. By the way, passing them around is kind of like in a Baptist church. I can't remember what they're called. I call them basket boys.
Just call them, yeah, that sounds fine.
I call them
I don't know
basket
for
boys.
sure, honestly.
They walk between the aisles with a basket or something to collect donations. It was kind of like that. They'd walk down the aisles with the bread, and they would offer the whole tray to somebody, and you pass it down.
And we didn't accept it.
No.
What did you see when you didn't accept it? For me, I'm the type of person, I don't care what people look at me as. I saw eyeballs. Okay, I will say
A lot.
I saw a lot of eyeballs, especially from the older men. I saw a lot of eyeballs from older men in this service. I don't care, but for him, he's a little different. What did you see when you did not accept communion, aka the Eucharist?
It was actually.
I didn't accept it either.
It's kind of funny. The dude that's got the basket or the tray with the bread on it, he's in the aisle in front of me, and he comes to me. Well, I'm at the end of the aisle, so he comes like right here to me, and he hands it down to me. I just put my hand up like this, like, no, I'm good. Just gesturing to him. I don't want any. I'm not even kidding you. This dude went bug-eyed. He went like I don't know, like he acted like I just like committed a mortal sin. But I didn't want any. I've got a rule to myself where I don't eat anything that's like offered to me unless I know the people, and I ain't never been there. I don't know the people. I'm not eating anything they give me. I'm not drinking anything they give me either. That's why in the Orthodox video I was upset at myself for drinking the wine, because I don't like doing that, because I don't know them. You know what I mean? But yeah, he offered to me. I put my hand up like, no, I'm good. And he then offered him some. He passed up, and we had a gentleman to his left sitting beside us. He actually, I believe he ate, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He was a member. I talked to this individual. He's been a member since he was 8 years old, and he was in his 20s at this point. So he's been a member for a long time, without saying too many details.
Over a decade.
Wow.
Okay.
Very nice man, too, in my experience.
But going back to the service and everything, like you said, there was a lot, and I mean a lot of eyes on us. Oh, I don't know if you care. I got to keep my hat on. 4 for 4.
4 for 4, baby.
That's awesome. That's the only
100% rating still.
That's the only good thing I can say about this church, in my eyes at least.
We have so interesting perspectives to present to you.
We do, but I didn't mean to cut you off. But I was gonna say with the eyeball thing, is these people would eyeball you, right? And then you look over at them because you can feel when someone's looking at you. I feel like all of us.
I can, yes.
Yeah, everybody can feel that. You know what I mean?
What are you looking at me?
So you look over at them, and it's not like they wave at you
They're just looking
or
at you.
smile at you. They'll just go like this. Just look away, and then you catch them doing it again 5 minutes later.
Yep, eyes.
Also,
What are you looking at? Oop.
dress code. This is what we wore.
Yeah.
We're filming this on the same day. We both wore button-ups. Everybody else had suits or
Suits.
or skirts for the
The
ladies.
men, suits, long sleeve button-up shirts. The women, nice dresses or skirts.
Suit and ties, by the way.
Suit and ties, yeah, very
A
fancy.
lot like the JW.
Similar to the JW, yeah.
Yep, a lot like JW.
And also, one thing I noticed is we stuck out immediately.
Oh yeah, like
Because,
sore
like I
thumbs.
said, we come in dressed nicer than, I guess, average maybe. But somehow, we get these eyeballs that just
Bang, bang.
gravitate to us like magnets.
Yep.
And then, of course, what I'm going to mention later at the end of this video, you're going to see a little more of them.
Speaking of that,
They knew we weren't believers of the Mormon Church or
Oh,
the
yeah.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm just going to say LDS.
yeah, okay.
We'll call it LDS or
LDS,
Mormons.
yeah.
LDS.
We also need to touch on the fact that when we sat down, we sat there for 10 minutes. Nobody sat near us. I mean, sat on our aisle. We had the whole
Yeah.
aisle to ourselves. It was like we reeked of something. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
could smell the demons in us.
yeah, something like yeah. The only person that sat beside us was that dude, that member, and
A
he had
young
his,
man, yeah.
and he had his wife, if I ain't mistaken,
His,
with him.
his girlfriend, not wife.
Oh,
But
girl.
he was a cool dude. And the girl or woman didn't speak to us at all. But the man, cool dude, he's the one that mentioned to me he's been in this church since he was 8 years old.
Yep.
He was raised in it. He told me a little bit about it. And he was one of the ones that invited me to a service that's like a Sunday school after the end of their service. Another thing to note is their main service, their main worship service on Sundays is an hour long, and they take that very seriously. So I remember they had the speakers that I mentioned, the little kid speaker, and then they had the two beautiful young women that would speak. But then after that, they had a man. He referred to himself as like the president of the elders. He used some other terms in there, but he's a president of something. So he's not just your average Mormon. He is a president of some kind of organization within the Mormonism, within the LDS. But I didn't exactly understand exactly what he's saying as a president of whatever he is. But after him, a bishop stands up, which it seems like the bishop is above the president and everybody else within the Mormon church or the LDS. So, and I noticed also it was hitting 10 o'clock. I mean, it was hitting 11 o'clock.
11. Yeah.
Whenever the bishop had stood up to speak, he said some very few words. They said a prayer, which was led by the choir director, a woman, by the way. I don't know if that's important.
Right. What he means is the main group of people that were directing this service were all male, by the way.
Yeah.
There wasn't any females over there. Oh, we noticed that.
Yeah, the men led the service, but women did have a small part in it.
Yeah.
Which is different from, like your conservative Baptist or non-denominational settings,
Yep.
or your conservative Christian settings like Catholics and Orthodox, which I am. So I thought that was interesting and different. But the interesting part is coming up next, because by the end of this, I enjoyed the singing. I enjoyed the mixture of the speaking with the singing, and I enjoyed the service overall. I really did. But he has told me that he saw something. He sent me a text towards the halfway through the end of the service. He sent me a text that I looked at that said, "I saw something weird. I'm bouncing."
Yeah.
So he saw something weird enough that he left the Mormon ward altogether.
I walked out at the 30-minute mark. I want to give y'all a rundown. We were getting eyeballed real heavy in the service, and
He had to use the bathroom, right?
yeah, I had to use the restroom, get a break from it.
Well, to mention something I was going to mention, I was offered all of these pamphlets and informational things. One thing I noticed, I've been a part of churches thousands of times.
Yeah.
Thousands of hours in churches, thousands of services. Never one. I've had beautiful women come up to me and approach me before, but these are women that I've known beforehand. I've never come to a church or religious setting beforehand where multiple beautiful women come up to me and talk to me and ask me how I am, how I enjoyed this, what do I do for work, and this and that.
Getting the hell out of
These
information.
beautiful women offered me these pamphlets, a book of Norman, which I will read. These beautiful women come up to me. First off, one beautiful woman come up to me who was a speaker during the service.
Yep.
And I was like, this is different. Okay, what's going on here? And then a second beautiful woman come up to me. And when I say beautiful, I mean like Barbie doll beautiful.
Very good looking.
Like
perfect.
I guess. I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? You men know what I'm saying. That's perfect Barbie
Even
doll.
women.
Barbie doll beautiful.
I feel like women and men can appreciate beauty.
Yeah, I mean, of
Anybody.
course women can.
On anybody.
It's not just a sexual thing, just a beauty thing.
Yeah,
Very beautiful, not in a perverted way either.
She looked like she woke up 2 hours before the service to do makeup.
And her
get
hair,
pretty.
beautiful,
Oh, yeah, she
absolutely
looked
beautiful.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
But she looked perfect too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, after two of these women had come up to me, I was like, okay, something's going on here. And then a man comes up to me and says, "I see you've met the sisters." And I was like, "You refer to these women specifically as the sisters?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?" He said, "The sisters are our missionaries." I was like, "That's it.
Yeah.
That's it." Beautiful women, especially multiple beautiful women, do not just approach guys like me. Which I thought was very weird and different. Well, it was nice while it was happening, of course. But in the back of my mind, I was like, something's going on here. Which he has told me he experienced something so bad that he will never go back to this ward again. And for me, I had a very pleasant experience. The service and stuff was beautiful. It was very nice. And of course, the beautiful women at the end of it was very nice too. But he has shared something with me. He says it's very terrible. I don't know what it is. And I'm very interested in hearing it. So let's hear it.
Now, before I say anything, I want to say this. I didn't see anything with, like, it's hard to explain. Like, I didn't see anything weird happening with my eyes. But, trust me, just wait a second. And let me fill you in here. So, I'm at the service. I got to go to the bathroom. Well, I walk out the door, and they have, like a guard at the door, kind of like JW, which I thought was weird. It was an older dude. I said, "Hey man, where's the restroom at?" He said, "It's down this hall to the right." I said, "Okay." Now, this hall is not that wide at all. Like maybe two people could walk side by side in it. It's not a wide hall at all. And I'm walking down the hall, and like we said earlier, there's doors on every side, right? Well, if you open a door and sling it into the hallway, you're blocking three-fourths of the hallway, right? So you can't see behind that door, and you got to go between the door and the wall, and you can block a lot of view, right? So I'm walking to the bathroom, and I get up on this door. I get probably, wish I had a marker. Wait a minute. Kind of like here, like this from it, and I see a lady on the other side. It was, it's hard to put it, but it was a bigger lady. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying anything. But she was bigger, and I was going to talk to her because I was actually wanting to ask her some questions about the Mormons. And well, I get to the other side of the door, and now, like I said before, I didn't see nothing. But I'm not a kid. I've lived long enough. I know better. Okay. She had. It could have been her son. They could have been hugging. I don't know. Okay. It looked like I had just interrupted some kind of kissing session. It's like session going on at this door. Well, kind of in the room. They were like in the doorway / in the room, and the room was dark, so they didn't want no one to see. And they had the door wide open. God knows why. I don't know. But I mean, they blocked half the hallway because they were like, God, I hate talking. I don't like talking about it. But they were like this. You know what I mean? Like he had his hand back here in the back of her head. She had his hand on his back. Now, you can argue that could have been a hug. Okay, that's fine. It could have been a hug. It could have been nothing. It could have been. I hope it was. I really do. But what got me was I talked to him, and this woman looked visibly shaken, like I just caught her in the act of stealing from this church or something. Because I was going to ask her about church, and my brain didn't understand what was going on, but it did at the same time. So when I saw that, I said, I'm not talking to her, but I'm going to ask her, by the way, the restrooms don't have men and women signs on them, which confused me a lot. I don't know if you noticed that. I said, hey, which one's the male restroom? She said, that one. And she brushed me off real quick. And the kid that's with her, when I say kid, I'd say like a preteen, maybe young teen. I'm not sure.
Let's give an age, like
14 to
14?
16. 14, 16. Old enough to know better. You know what I mean? And she brushed me off. And this dude, this preteen or whatever, didn't say a word, but he just, bless you, he just stared daggers into me, like almost like he was pissed off or something. I ain't scared of no damn, or I ain't scared of no kid. I ain't gonna do nothing to a kid, obviously, but he was like mean mugging me. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like, I can think of a comparison, man. It was so weird. Like, it's not like you bump into someone taking a cookie out of the cookie jar. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you got me. No, it was like I bumped into them doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and they didn't want me there. They really wanted me gone. And I was in the restroom for maybe a minute and a half, maybe two. Not long at all, right?
There's more?
God knows where they went. They could have went in that room, closed the door. I don't know. But that they were not there. In 2 minutes time, they were gone. Which tells me something was going on, that they're guilty of something. Like I said, I don't know what they were doing, and I'm not claiming they were doing anything wrong. I'm really hoping they weren't. I'm hoping that was just a mom and son hugging, or a mom and an aunt hugging. Or not mom and aunt, sorry. A son and an aunt hugging, is what I meant to say. And there was no foul play, nothing weird. But I think you can tell when two people are kissing. And, you know, I'm in my 20s. I've been alive long enough to know. I think he has too. I think you know when you catch someone in the act of doing something wrong. But like I said, I didn't see anything, because the way it was like, imagine this. Imagine my hand's the door, right? Sorry for the hand shot. I'm coming up this way, like this. So over half the hallway is blocked. I can't see nothing. And then I get there, go around the corner, and they were like pulling off each other really fast. And I feel like if they were hugging, they wouldn't pull off each other that fast. I mean, because in my eyes, there's nothing wrong with a hug. Nothing wrong with a hug. I don't care.
Of course.
You can hug anybody. You know what I mean? So hear me out. If they're locked up like this, and they like they like throw each other away from each other. I'm not saying anything. I didn't see anything. It just felt weird, man. It really did. So after I saw that, I go to the bathroom. I clear my head. I'm like, where the hell am I? Like, there's no way I just saw that. You know what I mean? And I come back out. They're not there. I don't know if they went back in there or not. I imagine they probably did, or they went into the room and did. I don't want to talk about it. It's weird. Okay. I text him as I'm heading out. I said, "Yeah, I'm not coming back in here, man." I was like, "I'm good." Well, he doesn't respond because in church you have your phone on silent, of course.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, that's common courtesy. And I sit outside and I'm on my phone listening to music, just thinking. I was like, I'm trying to think of what could have happened. I'm hoping it was a hug, but why would you throw someone off of you if it was a hug? You know what I mean? That was my thought process behind all of that. This happened in like 30 seconds. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I hope no foul play was going on. Nobody was harmed from what I could see. Both their faces were red too, by the way. Like kind of like they're embarrassed as can be. So yeah, I went outside and I just cleared my head and I sat and I thought about it for 20 minutes because he was still in there because he didn't know this was happening or this happened. So I sat outside in the parking lot. I sat on the truck bed actually. And I thought about it, and I ran through my head 100 times. And in my mind, I don't understand why you would throw somebody off of you if you were hugging. It's weird. It really is. That's easily the weirdest experience I've ever had in a church, ever. That beats the JW, where you live, all that, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? Like, that was just real odd. I didn't like it. So I went outside, I waited on him, and I was telling him about it when we were heading over the road. He said, "Don't tell me." This is his first time hearing this, by the way. He said, "Don't tell me, let me react on the video." I said, "All right." That was weird. It really was. Oh, and while I was sitting outside, my brain going 100 miles an hour as I'm trying to figure out what the hell I just saw. A really big dude comes outside. I guess he was a member. And when I say big, I mean big, dude. Like 6'4", 6'5", probably. And he comes outside with a box. And I originally thought he wanted me to help him move some boxes. And he comes out, he shakes my hand. I introduce myself. He introduces himself, and he says, "What are you doing out here? It's hot." I said, "Well, I got a phone call." I lied. I didn't tell him I just walked in on or walked across. You know what I mean? And he said, "We can come back in now." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm good. I'm waiting on another phone call right now." As I'm waiting on him, because I texted him and I didn't know if he had saw it. Or I made a joke. Actually, I said, "Are they sacrificing you in there?" And he didn't respond. I was like, "Oh God, they might be."
They were.
Yeah.
The beautiful women.
Yeah. That's what I saw. And I will probably never go back to that building, to be honest with you. The vibe was just weird. Like, the vibe was very JW. A lot of forced smiling, in my opinion. They served food and drinks. I guess that's a good thing in some people's eyes, not mine. And then I bumped into that in the hallway, and that's still on my mind. That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, actually. So that's the crazy part about the story. There it is. Take it with what you want, I guess. Well, I don't know what to think, to be honest with you. I really don't. It could have been nothing, or it could have been something. I mean, it happened so fast. Like, it was, I said 30 seconds. It was probably it was sooner than that, I bet. It just happened quick. I'm wearing, y'all can't see it, but I'm wearing shoes, so my footsteps are not loud at all. So you wouldn't hear me walking up. And I'm a smaller dude too, no matter what it looks like on camera. So you wouldn't hear me walking up until I was like right there. It'd be different if I was wearing boots, stomping around, you know. But yeah, that's what happened.
I don't know what to add to that.
Pause it. Pause it.
No, this is natural. No, this is natural.
Okay.
So my experience was pretty positive until hearing this. I don't know. I wasn't there. Was it what it looked like? I don't know. Is it the whole church or is it this individual? I don't know what to say. Yeah, that's that. I don't know.
That was the Mormon investigation.
Yeah.
Sorry for keeping y'all so long. This is a longer video, but I feel like we really need to touch on that. So.